Well, we left off the other day. I was showing you how we lay out the bow, and like I said, I wasn't going to do my cutting while taping. There's no reason for me to show you how to cut. Because if you don't know how to cut wood, you shouldn't be building a bow. What I've done here is I've cut all the pieces out, and I'm going to take this apart here in a second to show you what the pieces look like. But last night, after I got done cutting it, I set it up in my jig here. And basically what the jig is doing is when I glue this and put this back in the jig, it's basically going to form the reflex of the bow for me. And once the glue dries, it'll stay that way. But I set it up beforehand, because one, I wanted to see how it's going to work. Because once it's glued, and you got to deal with the gluing and so on and so forth, it's going to, the glue's wet and it's difficult to deal with. It gets sloppy, it's dripping, so on and so forth. So I set this up, and I'm gonna take the camera real quick and kind of show you what it looks like set up like this, and then I'm gonna take it apart so you can see the individual pieces. So just real quick here, as you can see, I have it in this jig. I have a 2x4 here, a 2x4 underneath the handle, and a 2x4 on the other side. Excuse the water bottle. And this is the back side of the bow, right here. And you could see the pieces underneath. And I have it here, and you can see that it basically going to have that reflex design. Now I put that together, like I said, dry. There's no glue here, but eventually I'm going to glue it, and this is how I'm going to set it up. But let me pull this apart so you can see the individual pieces. You stick this back here on the tripod. I'm filming myself for this one. If any of you guys have watched my show and stuff, obviously you know I have a cameraman, but I didn't want to break his chops for this particular video. So, I'm just videotaping this on my little flip video. So, I'm doing devices. I recommend these. I wish I had some more of them. I have to go out and get a couple of these regular C-clamps. Those are such a pain in the neck. There we go. Now I have this clamp on here, but these are all not glued. I still have to make one more adjustment to this the last piece. I have to cut it off and shorten it right there. But as you can see, it's kind of has a staircase effect, where each piece is smaller than the last. And once we start sanding and doing all that, you'll see how that comes into play and why I did that. I think I showed you on this single limb design that I'm doing on a takedown bow. But as you can see, this one has 4 layers. The 4 layers right there. This is not, and this still needs tillering, but as you can see that it because they're inside of each other, you get this, progressive outward movement. And that's what we're gonna hope to get out of this. So I left it in the vise overnight, or in my jig overnight, and it barely did any bending. But when it's glued, it'll stay like that after an hour of being set in the glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart, and I'm just going to talk you through the steps of gluing real quick. I'm, again, not going to do the gluing on film. You don't need to watch me actually do the gluing. use these little cheap 89-cent foam brushes. I bought these at Home Depot also. The best choice would be stuff that you could buy. It's called Smooth On, but it's like 30 something, or 30 something dollars a can, and you gotta order and you gotta wait for it. And I'm kind of impatient, so what I've done in the past and what I've been using is Gorilla Glue, just regular old Gorilla Glue, which I can't open at the moment. Where's my pliers? And what I do is I use the Gorilla Glue. I take those little sponges, and before you use the Gorilla Glue, actually what you need to do is, and this is why the water bottle's here, I take a cloth, you wet it, and basically what you do is just wet the cloth and give a little glaze over. One, it helps get, remove any little loose debris, and two, Gorilla Glue actually will bond better if both sides are just slightly wet. So I'll do that on each of these layers, especially the ones that are going to touch each other. And then what I'll do is, and I have to get a plier to open this up, but I'll go back and forth like this, real light, not really heavy. You go too heavy, this is what ends up happening. If you go too heavy, Gorilla Glue spooges out like this, and you get this big nasty, which is okay. I mean, you can see on this side right here. Once you sand it and all that stuff, it goes away, and you won't see much of it. But I went a little heavy on this one, and you can actually, I'm gonna see if I get real close here. You can actually see the glue in between those. So, just go real light, and then you go back over with this brush, and you just make sure it's really even. You don't want areas that are thicker than the other, because you'll cause areas for it to delaminate. So once you have all that glued up, you put all these pieces back together, and you saw me using this. I'll put this like here, kind of help keep those pieces together while I'm adjusting it on my jig. I will put it back on the jig, and what you want to do is you want to measure in the same distance. Excuse me, I have a little allergy issues here. You set your blocks up so that, I'm going to swoop you down here real quick. Let me zoom you in here. Okay, I measure how far the block is into the last piece of wood on the bow. Same on both sides. And I don't know if you can see this right here, but there's a little black mark right here. There's a little black mark right here. What I've done is measured from the end inward on both sides, exact same distance. That's where I'm going to put my clamp so that you have an even reflex. You can actually, I'm always building different size bows and stuff. So I haven't built a jig, but a lot of guys that build the same size bow all the time, you could build a jig, and that way you won't mess up your workbench all the time with glue and whatnot. I always just put some paper down, but and then it's kind of brainless. Then you always know you won't have to do the measurements. You just put the bow on it. The clamps go in the same spot every time, so on and so forth. But if you're like me and you're always like messing around with different stuff, I'm always, hey, this is just for fun, I don't usually do much hunting with these bows. I will take them out for a hog hunt or plinking at jackrabbits and whatnot. But not that they're not capable of taking down deer and other game like that. It's just when I go hunting, I want to know I'm going to get something down, and I need it. I want all this stuff in my favor. So anyway, when we come back, the next video I do, you'll see the actual I'll have this glued up for you, and we'll begin doing the rough sanding, and we'll also probably have the handle cut out, and or at least I'll show you how to lay out the handle, and then we'll go from there. That's it for this portion, and we'll catch you next time.